So we know that Web3 gaming has been around for a minute, and we've seen the evolution, especially as it comes to play to earn. And what does it mean next as it relates to Web3 gaming? Is there a model for play to earn that is sustainable? And again, if I can ask everyone to move those side conversations to the hallway, that would be great. And our next group of speakers are going to explore that in more detail. So if I can have them come to the stage. And I'm going to ask our audience if you can make them feel super welcome as they come on stage. Just give them a big, warm round of applause. And so first on stage, I have Sebastian Borget, co-founder of the Sandbox. Let's give him a warm welcome. Yay! We have Roham Gharegozlou. Welcome to the stage. Kavin Bharti Mittal, welcome to the stage. And last but not least, we have our moderator, Sami Chlagou. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. The room is pretty empty. I remember a few years ago when the gaming was very high. It was completely full. So today I have the chance, to be with Sebastian, Roham, and Kavin to talk about gaming, about sustainable economies. And we will jump on in. I will give them the time to present themselves, and then let's kick out. Do you want to start?
Yes, I'll do it. I'm Kavin, the founder and CEO of Hike. At Hike, we're building something called the Hike Gaming Nation. The simple idea or principle is that attention is one of the most scarce and valuable resources in our world today. If you combine attention with the forward movement of time, you get a second, a minute, an hour of attention. And with the blockchain, you can finally put a container. You can package that attention and finally own it and unlock that value online. There's billions of hours of time spent in gaming. Our attention specifically has gone to mobile gaming, mobile casual gaming. There's $80 billion of revenue per year in mobile casual gaming alone. The question we've been asking is, what does it mean to bring 1% of that on-chain? And that's the big vision with the Hike Gaming Nation. We launched our first product called Rush, which is a casual PvP gaming app in India. It's a competitive casual gaming platform where people can compete for the big sort of prize in casual gaming. 5 million monthly active users, doing over $500 million of gross revenue a year, with the aspiration of doing a lot more at scale. And I know we're limited on time, so I'll pass it on. Roham, up to you.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. My name is Roham Gharegozlou, founder and CEO of Dapper Labs. We work with some of the biggest brands in the world, Disney, NBA, NFL, to run their digital asset platform, so NBA Top Shot, NFL All Day, and Disney Pinnacle. And we also have some of our own products like CryptoKitties, which was arguably the first crypto gaming kind of experience and is now back in the early form on Telegram with about 300,000 users. And Michaela, who's a virtual character, fully AI-driven. She's got about 6 million followers across different social networks. And our philosophy has always been that crypto is a platform not just for currencies, but also for consumer products, for ownership, for creating new business models on the internet. And so I'm very excited to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Sebastian Borget. I'm the COO and co-founder at the Sandbox. Sandbox is a decentralized virtual world where anyone can become a creator, make all sorts of 3D content, whether they're asset or full games and experiences. We are mostly known for our partnership with more than 400 major brands from music and entertainment, the like of Snoop Dogg, Warner Music, Gucci, and more recently Attack on Titan or Jurassic World. So you can think of Sandbox as the home of brands. We also have like a fantastic community of creators and users, counting more than 6.3 million users with a wallet. And I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. It's an association that promotes adoption of blockchain technology within the video game industry. We've grown to over 500 members now. And like we're still, even though we've been pioneers in the space, still very bullish in gaming.
So the last years was very complicated, for the gaming industry. in Web3. And today the goal is to try to understand what's happened and why we are in this kind of situation. So let's kick off with the first question. What was fundamentally flawed in the original play to earn? And what lesson did you take away from the last cycle? Who wants to start?
I mean, I think for me, it's not necessarily about the flaws, but just the phases of the industry, right? We were in a very immature sort of state in the industry a few years ago, and both the state of the technology, onboarding, number of folks on the platforms, and today we're at a position where almost every consumer with a bank account or a social media account is going to also have wallets associated with those accounts, and so the pace of onboarding new customers into being on-chain ready has dramatically changed, and so the kinds of product experiences will also change. But obviously, we have to focus not being on speculative, find the fun first, and then kind of recognize the people that are adding the most value into the ecosystem. Use it as a supercharger rather than a replacement for kind of the traditional, consumer experiences of fun, et cetera. But I'll let my fellow co-panelists fill in the gaps. I just don't think necessarily it was mistakes rather than just phases the industry had to go through.
What do you think, Kavin?
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think there's always a lot of experimentation at the bleeding edge when new technology emerges. What we saw, I think, for the last few years was token first, revenue maybe second, and gameplay never. And you had a lot of over-financialization of the gaming sector, I think, because crypto token can be listed and actually has a lot of value. So the financialization really overshadowed the gameplay. I think it's also the nature of the technology in which it happened. And also, there was a lot of, I would say, lack of deep thinking around just a sustainable business model. Once you have a token on your balance sheet, you can print it to infinity, and the first year you're going to have a lot of success because you're printing the token. But at some point, it's always going to tip and cause hyperinflation. And we've seen this across all the big gaming economies. And so I feel like as an industry, we're going to learn from that and put gameplay first and hopefully build something sustainable.
Well, I like to what both of you said. Basically, I think we've seen a very fast pace of innovation and experimentation by very young and hungry entrepreneurs who wanted to push innovation through the angle of technology first. I don't necessarily attribute the failure of certain blockchain games to any abnormal rate of failure in the gaming industry in general. Just thinking back, taking the gaming industry, which some of us are back into since 2010 and beyond, the success rate of any game is extremely low. We're talking maybe 1% of the game can make it to be launched on the App Store and enter the top 100 top grossing, such converted plays. So there is, first of all, no replicable, successful business model that our industry has become quite good at copycatting to apply to another. We've seen rapid evolution around users trading NFTs and developers earning through the royalty fees on those NFT. CryptoKitties was a great example of that, but unfortunately, royalties fees on marketplace is something that's a thing of the past and doesn't exist anymore. We've seen game developer funding their development through early NFT sales of game asset or other lands, characters, and so on, before the development comes up, and using a blockchain as a Kickstarter campaign. And that worked to a certain extent until there was market saturation. And then after, we've seen games launching tokens without having a refined product behind to sustain the demand for the token. And again, first mover really got a strong advantage. Some of them were able to deliver partially or fully on the promise, and we've seen games like Axie Infinity, for example, or even more recently, I think of Maple Story M. I started thinking about Off the Grid, or a few other titles like Pixels were able to take off and be able to show that just one hit can be sufficient to actually drive. The main thing is we as actor in the gaming industry in Web3, we cannot, we talk a lot about tokens supporting network effect, allowing us to bootstrap community and liquidity and so on. But the truth is we're pretty much alone in this battle. And Usually in the gaming industry, you benefited from the App Store, the Google Play Store, the console that were selling device. And every time there is a device that's sold, it equals to like a certain number of like games and applications that's going to be downloaded. And the store acts as like this distribution partner that bring like new users and visibility and potentially revenue with regular featuring and so on. We don't have that in Web3. To be honest, even the best blockchain haven't delivered on the promise to drive users toward like the games and the dApps building on them. So we like that network effect. We like there's been a growth of like the Web3 ecosystem toward like more fragmentation, which is in nature great if you think in terms of decentralized terms, but blockchain gaming is bigger than ever, but more fragmented than ever. Like games are on Avalanche, are on Ronin, on Ethereum, on Polygon, and other chains. But there is not a single chain that is sufficient to drive users across and the liquidity. So that's one of the upcoming challenge, I think. And essentially, there is still a lack of like knowledge sharing across the industry of like what works and what doesn't work. I've seen that in like the Finnish game industry, when Supercell, Angry Birds, Rovio, all games succeeded, they were sharing with other game developers what worked and trying to apply it. Here, I feel like we're still trying to compete a little bit too much with each other in the attention game, in the token game, and not necessarily giving to the other product our user base. Because in the end, like if a gamer actually grow in value by playing other games and come back to us, it's a more valuable user that we don't need to spend again into acquiring. So
I guess I think we as an industry succeed when we're not talking about Web3 gaming as separate from other forms of gaming, but it's just games, fun games, adding Web3 elements. And I think you're the best example of that in terms of like, make the game first, get to a certain level of success, et cetera. And I think I'm excited when I go to sports conferences. There's now always a sports collectible, a digital collectibles panel as part of the programming. When we go to Disney events, D23, et cetera, they always want to have us and the other digital partners have a presence because they see that's the future of their fan engagement. So kind of be a fan, get rewarded in the digital world as well as in the physical world. I'm curious your thoughts on that though, because I think it's more about gaming and then consumer products, and then you layer in the economic model of cryptocurrencies, of crypto tokens, and of course, sort of true ownership of non-fungible goods. But I think so I'm not sure. I think especially now with the Epic ruling, you can just use the App Store to grow as the same way as any other digital product. At least that's the hope.
Just hop around the way. Wait, we have.
If you allowed me, I heard about like sustainability. What does really mean on the Web3 economy? Is it about like the player retention, or about like the revenue, the token velocity, or something else?
You mean in terms of the priority, or?
Yeah. For you, what do you think about that?
I think as Roham was putting it, you have to just build great stuff, fun stuff, because a lot of the gamers on our platform in India are 19 to 27, but we just launched our product in the US, and the gamers are 35 to 40 plus. If you try to explain to them what a token is, what USDT is, what a wallet is, how to bring money, stablecoin in, you lost them. You've completely lost them. And the biggest one is the chains. And as Sebastian is saying, there's so many chains, there's so much fragmentation, and in the internet world, we don't ask like which TCP/IP protocol Google is on. There's just one. So we have this responsibility of also abstracting all the plumbing that we did in the internet for this world too, and then just build fantastic experiences where the user experience feels real and normal. I think that's very, very important. There's still a lot of work to be done there. Second is, I think the gameplay has to come first. First, you have to build something that's real and fun. And I have this funny saying, which is the Web 2 world is very unforgiving. If you don't have retention, you don't have unit economics, you are dead. And I feel like you have to build a solid, fantastic game first and then find ways to use the blockchain to scale that product market fit. For example, in our platform Rush, we're going to use stablecoins to go global one shot. You couldn't do that before without Web3. And then use NFTs as ways to sort of make people bigger owners in the network so they can earn a bigger share of the spoils. But I think Web3 is more of you've got this rocket that you can strap on something, but that something has to be there. That's the way we think about it.
Do you want to add something on that?
Sustainability?
Yeah.
I think, look, like in the ultimate sense, crypto is this platform for immortal software. So you could technically build a game that operates forever without any maintenance. And so you could say, hey, the main thing that matters is sustainability from the perspective of fun of consumers. But I think sustainability in terms of fun also requires novelty, and novelty requires the sustainability of the company building the product. And so it always comes back to, like we're talking about, how do you create a product that you can have revenue to reinvest back into giving the customers what they want, which is more content, more connection, so on and so forth. So I would say, I mean, you ultimately both.
Yeah, I'm generally aligned here as well. Like one of the main challenges we see in the Web3 industry, both gaming and non-gaming, is like, hey, we're complaining there's this swarm of users who are here just to extract value from the network and the game, like taking any airdrop and then moving to the next one. And so one way that we suggest the industry to move forward is to actually use this measure, like called the return on reward spend, where like you will track like for every one single token that's distributed to a user, how much of that token is going to go back into the economy of the game. We cannot complain that a portion of the user will actually cash out the token, convert it to someone else. It's actually a feature that blockchain enables on decentralization. So it's more about balancing and creating products that actually allow the user to spend back into the economy of your game. And so we're talking about making fun games, fun product. For me, like, what does that mean, like, concretely? That actually means that you actually are going to engage user to spend time and or money, and ideally money, back into your game, so they prolongate like their time and engagement, and they feel there is a feeling of progression. Taking an example, Pixels, I think I've been sharing that they had millions of active users, but a very low return on reward spend, extractors. Recently, they changed, they focused on having like, let's have 10,000 or maybe 100,000 monthly active users, but 50% of them are actually recycling back, playing event and spending in the game. And that's a big win. Sandbox as well, like recently in the season 5, we were able to increase by 4 how much players are actually spending back in the game. And so we distributed 1.1 million Sand token as reward, and we earned 900,000 from those players who actually were buying different NFTs like avatar, collectible passes to participate into this event. So we're getting closer, and I think, like, generally speaking, every game designer, tokenomics designer should really encourage those behavior to make people spend money, not just get rewards.
Pixel create a design for incentive and to push the people, to play. But how we can push the people to engage them without turning game into financial course? How do we do that?
By building great games. Sorry, it's a simple answer. And I think a lot of the builders, and you guys also alluded to this, which is the gamers in Web3, most of them are actually not gamers. They're capital allocators, investors looking for the best yield. So if you're appealing to that audience, naturally what will you build? You'll build farming games. Most gamers are actually sitting completely off-chain. I think the opportunity we have as a gaming industry is to figure out how to bring 1 billion gamers very seamlessly on-chain.
But don't you think every platform changes the definition of what a gamer is? Like when in Facebook gaming days, all the expert games people were saying, "Hey, this is not real gaming." Mobile gaming, not real gaming. It's every generation of people. And look, the kids these days, they want financialization, they want speculation. No kid is watching sports without having bets running on what they're watching. They just need that skin in the game because they grew up with notification. So I just think like the definition of gamer also changes every cycle, but I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's a fair point. Maybe you have like a new crop of gamers emerging as a result of Web3, but then that's a very different kind of, yeah.
It's actually great. Like the gaming industry wouldn't have grown to 3 billion people if there was like every time a new device that push a new form of, and actually like thinking about CryptoGitties, it was fun to swap you brought on chain in the digital game, like the idea of like exchanging collectible of cats and making a potential revenue from it. I guess like financialization, like we all love to make money. Like please raise your hand if you don't like to make money. you don't, like nobody, literally. So there is a form of like dopamine effect and enjoyment toward like earning. Like the whole gaming industry has trained our brain to like every little action we do is worth some form of reward. Except until now, it was virtual. Like you earn 1,000 coins because you click on a button. Let's assume that it's part of the gameplay. Let's assume that some portion of the audience, not gamer or non-gamer, actually are here to enjoy getting some reward. And let's maybe ask ourselves, like, is the gameplay actually like the ability to speculate, trade, swap, and just focus on like the financial number that the digital asset represents behind? Or is it about the core gameplay, which is like take creator, make them fight, a TCG game, a creator builder game, or like Sandbox, like exploring and doing quests? And it should be both. Like that's the beauty of like bridging an entertainment industry, which is getting more and more financial with this, what we call the Web3 is called the Internet of Value. So I guess it's all part of it now.
Yeah, but it'd be extra cool if in addition to value, you're also earning, or financial value, you're also earning status, access, things that, you know, I think motivate consumers even beyond just money, but also harder to sort of pay.
I think it, like basically what is value? It's either like cash or fiat or crypto or reputation or attention. So that's principally the three things that people will
sell,
pay.
yeah.
So yeah.
Are we starting to see signs of Web3 gaming going mainstream, or are we still building game as niche game? Do you think that it's going to be possible that a Web3 game become mainstream for real? You talk about like building a great game, good game, fun game. Okay, I hear you. But when? When are we able to see like a real game coming mainstream, and how those games gonna be mainstream?
I guess our approach is a little different, which is we believe in the intersection of what you might call Web 2 and Web 3. So you want the fun, the retention, the unit economics, the mechanics, the core loops, the game design mechanics that Sebastian talks about, to be very sorted out and very good. And then how do you amplify that product market fit, retention, economic market fit with Web3 by bringing the entire thing on chain? For example, if you work backwards from the consumer experience to the technology and ask how is the blockchain technology useful for a, let's say, normal game, like stablecoins is one of the most powerful things in the world. Because launching a game that has some financialization today is very difficult on the App Store, but stablecoins gives you a one-shot global plugin overnight, which is really powerful. And with the NFTs, you can finally put containers around your attention. The energy, our attention has a lot of value. There's $500 billion worth of ad business models built, globally. But with consumers putting that value in, we don't get any of that value back in return. But with the NFTs, you can finally do that because you can capture attention and put it on a token that can unlock all the value. So with the NFT, then you can finally enable new ways of financialization in a game that's already very solid. At least for us, we feel if you go Web3 first and work backwards, it's always going to be very financialized first. And it's very hard to make a game when the financialization sits at the top, because gaming is meant to be entertainment. It's meant to be fun. And if in that fun you can also earn, that's fantastic. And we believe that that intersection led by Web 2 with Web 3 is likely going to be responsible for the first major breakthrough in Web 3 gaming.
So let me try to summarize. If you want to create a good experience on Web 3, you created a Web 2 experience, completely invisible for the people, and then you're going to grab a new user. Something like that?
Actually, you bring those billions of Web 2 gamers on chain. For example, we use a lot of technology in Web 2, but we don't talk about it to the customers. We don't tell them, hey, we have Redis DB, come use our application. Hey, we have MongoDB, hey, we have this. No, blockchain's a database. So why are we putting the technology up front? It should be completely abstracted and the value should be shown up front.
You put it invisible.
Yeah, so make it invisible and show the value instead. Like, our game server, for example, that we built for PvP matchmaking, skill-based matchmaking, is really good. It matches people with the right skills in competition. Now, we don't expose the technology to you. We don't say, hey, database. We say, hey, we'll match you with the best players. You must trust us. In the same way, stablecoins are great for you as a consumer because if you have a global liquidity pool, the price pools are much, much bigger. Wow. I think that's the approach that we are taking, and we expect to have big success with that.
Interesting. Do you want to add something on that?
Yeah, so I mean, I 100% agree with hide the wires, and that's been our philosophy from the beginning, and that's what the Flow blockchain was built for, and you know, in a sea of other kind of undifferentiated alternatives, I think we built differentiated technology. But to your point, we don't talk about it. That said, I think the concept of, hey, I'm building a Web2 game, I'll balance it perfectly, and then I'll add the single most volatile, most hard to control, most sort of unscripted kind of technology into it, and then expect the balance to sort of stay the same is I think, brave. And I think in a lot of ways, like it's not like with CryptoKitties or Top Shot, we were trying to create unsustainable economies. And I would argue we broke through into the mainstream. You know, CryptoKitties was Vice documentaries and all this sort of thing. But at the time, it would cost hundreds of dollars to breed a cat. The infrastructure wasn't ready. MetaMask, you couldn't onboard, et cetera. Top Shot, similarly, nearly $2 billion in transaction volume. ESPN, CNBC, whatever it might be. But again, kind of the user experience, I mean, on the one hand, maybe wasn't ready. On the other hand, the financialization was so strong that it kind of, it got out of our control in a sense in the early days. Today, I would say we've stabilized a lot of elements, and you know, you might have seen just last week, we did a partnership with Disney Plus, where they invited Disney Plus subscribers, or normal people, and right now in the US, but expanding eventually, to come into Disney Pinnacle and rip their first pack, sort of experience digital ownership for the first time. 29% of the folks that clicked through ended up ripping their first pack. The people that ripped their first pack ended up ripping 27 after that. So kind of, it's actually starting to make sense to people. There's no mention of the word NFT or blockchain or crypto or anything like that anywhere in the experience. But it took some time to kind of get the user experience in a position where you know, Top Shot's doing a whole bunch of stuff with fantasy sports influencers, et cetera. And the conversion there is really, really high because the product's starting to make sense to those folks. Whereas when they came 2021, when I was on ESPN, they would see the cheapest thing on the platform is this, you know, second-rate player from a second-rate team at that year going for a couple $1,000. So it wasn't ready for people to enter. Today it's ready for people to enter, and so you know, we're coming at it from the Web3 first, asset first kind of dynamic. But I'm really excited for the other approach as well, because you know, A, we're going to learn a lot of things, but B, you know, to your point, it's so hard to find the fun, and most people who are really good at finding fun are not in Web3. The builders like yourself, they're in you know, serving hundreds of millions of people. So as soon as that kind of schism, the wall breaks, I think we're going to see a lot of folks coming in and trying new things. And you know, I think we're at the precipice of a lot of excitement.
Sebastian, you want something?
I think it's like going to be still a long grind of like multiple game companies.
Man, it's been a long ride.
Yeah, but it's going to keep being a long grind and ride for us as entrepreneurs. Like, even though like one game can ignite it all once again, but like to create a long-lasting movement, it will probably need like a larger movement. Like, we've seen a lot of brands entering the space. The fact that a few brands come in is attracting a few more. Now we're seeing like the US reopening itself, and with more clarity around SEC recently, we're now seeing like celebrities launching tokens. I'm sure like brands will launch token and more product that enable it. But until, in my opinion, it's still like large platform like the Apple and Google and Epic that will embrace a form of like on-chain activity, whether it's like a form of payment with stable or allowing creators to have their own tokens fully, entirely without any issue, like alternative app store, that it's going to come as building a habit. Every massive innovation took 10 to 15 years in the making. We're at like year 5, 6, so it's not too bad. We still have to go survive through that.
I'm curious if we would consider meme coins part of Web3 gaming. Like, that goes to a question of what's a real game, right? If these guys say it's not a real game, then I would say it's a real game.
Really?
Yeah, and to your point around mainstream, you know, Trump coin has about, I think, nearly 1 million unique holders. You know, so NFT, fungible tokens, meme coins, etc. Is that a game? Is that a form of gambling? Is gambling gaming? Sort of kind of is, right? Real money gaming?
Actually, I think it's a good question, but gambling is betting on an outcome that you have no control over. Whereas gaming might be betting on your own skills to enter a tournament and compete against other people and beat them.
Poker. I guess poker can be a game.
Poker would be a game then, because the skill level is pretty high there. Yeah. I mean, every game has an element of luck. Like even in Counter-Strike, where you spawn, for example, I mean, it's very small, but has an element of luck. But I mean, it's a good point. It's a good question. Is meme coin gaming, gambling? In my
Meme
books,
coin takes skill. If you think meme coins is just luck,
you need to
you're
explain that to me, man. off the
I
stage.
think I'll get some of the kids to explain it to you, but that's what they're spending their time doing.
Well, I think like meme coin is like the true essence of like decentralized community-owned culture on chain, and like the success of meme coin.
Musical chairs. Musical chairs is a
yes,
game.
but like the financial success of them is actually driving the transmedia product, which gaming is part of actually. So only the most successful meme coin will end up making a game, build a community. You never know like what's the DNA that will actually create a meme coin, make the success behind a meme coin. Do you have like to be fully degen? Do you have to attach all the values behind? Like NFT collection and PFT were the beginning. Like Puggy Penguin, for example, or Bored Ape in some way started that movement and proved that like the most successful one will make it till the end into like actual games product and larger adoption.
Sebastian, I will keep you for my last question. If you had to rebuild your game economy from scratch today, what's the one thing you will do differently?
Tough question.
The best for the last.
Do you want me to buy you some time?
Yeah, like everything was so perfect with Sand, I cannot find. Obviously, I believe like basically I would distribute much more Sand toward like the creators who really contributed at the beginning, towards like the success of Sandbox. Like we launched the product, we launched the Sand only after we had a good community and so on. I think I would work toward like having something that allows the creators to monetize even more thanks to Sand. So I couldn't do it at the beginning, but I'm working on it and something will be done this year about that.
Do you want to distribute some Sand today for the people here?
Yes.
So if you want to empower your network, you just add him, on LinkedIn, and you can say that you were here, and he will give you some Sand. What about you, Roham?
Well, we're remaking. We've changed a lot about all of our economies, and in particular with CryptoKitties, the new product that's on Telegram is different in almost every way. And I think number one, we're starting with the fund. So currently, it's a Web2 product, and then tokens are being sort of distributed to people who link their wallets. There's every cat kind of has a natural limit. So CryptoKitties today, you can go play it on Ethereum, fully unlimited. You can breed as many things as you want, no limit to the inflation. CryptoKitties 2 will have a limit to the inflation. The fungible token as well as non-fungible token, and just more gameplay, deeper experiences. And with Gen AI, kind of infinite variety. So if we had Gen AI implemented in CK1, because the product's live, and it would basically just keep going forever without any action on behalf of the developer. And I think that's what people want when they say, oh, true ownership. What do I do with my thing 50 years from now? And then suddenly you can kind of answer to that. And so how do you sort of think of this game as a building block and sort of a giant multi-chain, multi-generational MMORPG is sort of, I think the way I start thinking about it.
What about you, Kavin?
I think designing an economy is always an ongoing thing. You have to keep tweaking it, balancing it. Given that we launched our product first in India, which is a big market, looking back, if there's one thing I would have loved to have done differently is go global faster with stablecoins. Because then you have the global liquidity in one platform and not just limited to India. India has scale, but the pocket sizes are slow. Let's say US, on the other hand, the population is smaller, but the pocket sizes are massive. And that interconnection can happen not in the fiat world, it can only happen on the blockchain via stablecoins. So we've just done that a couple of months ago. I think now looking back, if we did that a couple of years ago, it would have been a big one for us.
I heard that you are like the pioneer of Web3 in India. Is it true?
Well, it's a half truth and a half lie. Half truth because our aspiration is to build a gaming network, a gaming nation on chain where consumers who participate in the network are also owners and can participate in the economic upside as the platform grows in value. Half lie because the approach we've taken is Web2 first. And we're bringing our platform on chain one step at a time.
Roham, how can you close this panel? What do you want to say to the people here? Because we have more and more people, that is good. How do you want to conclude that?
I mean, the last thing I'll say is one of the first things I said, which is I don't think of it as just Web3 or Web2 or whatnot. It's just how do you build the fun? How do you use the latest technology, which obviously today involves Gen AI as well as kind of crypto for the business model, for the economics, for giving ownership and control back to the community. And how do you focus on the benefits, not the technology? That's been our philosophy from the start, and I think it's a really good time to jump in and be a developer, be a builder, and also be a gamer.
Sebastian, what's going to be your last word?
Last word, don't take Web3 gaming for what it is right now. Like, we are far to have seen like what it's possible for, and we need to keep pushing that innovation, that sense of risk-taking, maybe sometimes over-financialization, to actually leverage like new possibility and then change the game.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this panel.
Thank you, Sami.
Thank you, Sebastian from the Sandbox, Roham from Dapper Labs, Kavin from Hike, and Sami from Cross the Ages. Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Another round of applause for our amazing thought leaders. So Web3 gaming is here to stay, and it's evolving. And as we know, crypto is here to stay, and so we're going to continue to see the evolution where we have more sustainable models around Web3 gaming. I'm going to ask anyone that would like to speak to our thought leaders, please follow them out to the hall. So